welcome to lesson 2 of week 13. In this lesson, we are going to look at CSS transitions. My name is Mildred. In the last lesson, we looked at how to apply transformation to an element, and we said that we can use transitions to enhance the transformations. On the page, I have a container. The container has a background color, a height, and a width. When we hover this container, we want it to have a transform of rotate to 180 degrees like this. But we want to enhance this style using transition. When we want to use transitions in CSS, we use a property called transition, and we must specify the property that we want the transition to apply to and the duration for the transition. So let's say we want the transition to apply to the height and the width. So when you hover, we want to change the width to 400, the height to 400. So we say we want the transition to apply to the width. We want the transition to be slow, so apply over 4 seconds. We want it to apply to the height. We want it to also take 4 seconds. We want it to apply to the background. So I'm changing this to background color. So let's say we want it to apply to the background color, and we want it to be 4 seconds also. We also want it to apply to the transform property, and we'll specify 4 seconds also. So this is how we specify the transition property in CSS. We use the transition property and we specify the value to be the property we want to apply the transition to and the duration of time like this. We can specify several properties and duration as a comma separated list, or just one transition and duration as a space separated list like this. When I save this and I go to my web page and I refresh, when I hover this time, we see the way the transition effect happens. So this way it's more beautiful than without the transition effect. If I change this to 360 degree, we'll have a complete rotation. Let's make it faster. Save, refresh, and it's faster. Rotate 360 and fast. So this is how we use transition. There are other ways we can use the transition property, but the basic rule is you specify the property you want it to apply to and the duration in seconds. We can have other transition properties. We have something called the transition timing function, written like this. And what this does is that it specifies the speed curve for the transition. So we have several values for the transition timing function. You can try them out to see how they apply. So let's say ease. I'll refresh and we'll see how it applies here. I'm going to change the value here to, let's say, linear. Save, refresh. So you can't actually see that application with this whole rotation of 360 degrees. You can try it with a function maybe that stretches in width or height, something where the timing function will be useful. But this is how we use the transition timing function. We also have the transition delay property, and you specify the time in seconds to delay before start. Let's say we want it to delay 2 seconds after hover. Save. When I refresh, it will delay 2 seconds before the transition starts. So you can specify your transition delay property with the value like that. We also have a function called the transition duration, which is what we have specified here. The transition property and the transition duration. You can specify them writing transition property like this and specify the property. In the case where you are not using this style we have used, specify the property and then transition duration. So let's say I want the property to be, and I want the transition duration now to be 2 seconds for all of them. Save here, refresh. The 2 second delay will apply and then the transition takes place. So this is how we use the transition property, and these are all the properties for the transition. So try them out with different designs. The basic rule is that you have to have a transition property and a transition duration. The transition timing function, the transition delay property are properties that are optional for you to use based on the design that you are creating. So this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to look at CSS animation. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.